We got news that there were 5 staff members of the Ottawa Senators at the recent Habs vs Sharks game in Montreal. I'll be talking about who the Senators may be targeting from the Habs and whether or not the Habs should really consider trading that player. Next, we have some news about Juraj Slafkovsky and how he says he needs to gain confidence, and some information leading to us to maybe believe that Slafkovsky is letting the pressure of the Montreal media get to him. Finally, we have an update on the Habs' strength of schedule from here until the rest of the season, and it doesn't look great, so you won't want to miss anything we have to say on this edition of Habs Digest. Hello, bonjour, ahoy, and welcome to today's news edition of Habs Digest. I'm your host, Josh Gosse, and quickly before we get into the video, you guys know, I say it every video, about 70% of you guys who are watching our daily content are not subscribed. We love the support you guys have been giving us. If you could give a thumbs up on the video, subscribe to the channel, it'd help us out more than you could ever know. Topic number 1 today. The Habs are probably going to be trading a defenseman to the Ottawa Senators. At least I believe so, and I have some evidence as to why I believe that. Take a look at this. According to Eric Engels, the Ottawa Senators sent 5 people to the Bell Center to watch the Habs Sharks. And then he jokes, figures they were already familiar with Erik Karlsson, but what do I know? Ha ha ha. Eric, if you put ha 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 in your own tweet, no one's going to take you seriously. But I'm still taking this tweet seriously, so I guess I'm wrong. But the point is, the Ottawa Senators sent 5 people to watch the Habs Sharks. And maybe they were looking at someone on the Sharks because Montreal is closer than San Jose. Who knows? But that's not interesting to a Habs channel, is it? I'm here to talk about who they would be targeting from Montreal. And I think the Ottawa Senators were there to scout some Montreal defense, specifically Joel Edmundson. And here's why. Look at the Ottawa Senators. They're a young team. They just traded for Alex DeBrincat. They have Tim Stützle and Brady Tkachuk coming on up. They have some great young talent around them, but their defense is really, really lacking. Their top pairing is Thomas Chabot and Artem Zub. Their second pairing is Jake Sanderson and Travis Hamonic, with a bottom pairing of Erik Brannstrom and Nick Holden. It's just not that great, especially for a team that was heralded as having the off-season, right? The summer of Pierre. And the Senators went all in. They brought in like a superstar young goal scorer in Alex DeBrincat. They traded for Cam Talbot from Minnesota. They brought in Claude Giroux for some veteran leadership and some scoring. But right now, they're just not doing well. They're lower than Montreal in the standings. They're really struggling so far this season. And why is it? Part of the reason is their defense. Their defense is just lacking. They're not performing at the level they need them to. And if Ottawa in the next few years, as it seems, that seems to be their window, maybe the next 5 years while Giroux is still at a decent level of production, they want to make a push. They want to make a playoff push and go deep into the playoffs. And you can't blame them, right? They had a great offseason. They signed a bunch of players they liked, and they're ready to go. But their defense isn't showing up. So that's why I think they might be targeting someone like Joel Edmundson. Montreal, and specifically Kent Hughes, they've been no stranger to say that Montreal is looking for another first-round pick for this upcoming draft, and they just want some kind of compensation in any way they can. Now, will they get a first-round pick from Ottawa for Joel Edmundson? I'm not sure, but last season we got basically an unprotected first from Florida for Ben Sherratt, half a season of Ben Sherratt before he got sent away, so it's definitely not out of the question, especially for an Ottawa team that needs that kind of veteran leadership, especially a guy who has been to the Stanley Cup Finals with Montreal, a guy who knows what it takes to get there, a guy who is up there for block shots per game in the entire NHL, hasn't been producing points as well this season, but he's a huge defenseman, a veteran who knows what it takes to win, and his style of hockey translates very well to a playoff setting. So I think Ottawa was there targeting Joel Edmundson at the Habs Sharks game. And do I think that Montreal should trade him? Yes. Yes, I do. Not only would trading Joel Edmundson probably net some good draft capital from Ottawa, if not a first-round pick, maybe a second or something decent, maybe a young prospect or something. I don't know. They probably wouldn't send anything too great over for Edmundson, but he's the exact kind of player they want, and Montreal has the leverage. Montreal also wants to get rid of a left-handed defenseman. It would help out so much if we traded Joel Edmundson to Ottawa, because it would open room for some of our great lefty defensemen. Right now, as of the recording of this video, we have 5 of them on the roster: Mike Matheson, Joel Edmundson, Arber Xhekaj, Cayden Guhle, and Jordan Harris. We hardly have any righties, right? We have Chris Wideman, David Savard, and Jonathan Kovacevic as the only righties, and Wideman hardly ever plays anymore. So it would be amazing to open up an extra D-man slot so that Xhekaj could play every single night, like I believe he should. He clearly makes an impact on the ice, whether he's scoring or not. The guys seem to play with an extra spark behind him when he's on the ice. So I think opening that defenseman slot for one of the young guys to slide up, maybe mix around our pairings a bit, plus get some decent capital, especially for the draft, from Ottawa, a team who needs a guy like Edmundson. I think it's the perfect fit for a trade. I guarantee you that at least one of those members from Ottawa was scouting Joel Edmundson, and I would love to see a trade between these two teams go down in the very near future. Topic number 2 today. Juraj Slafkovsky says he needs to gain confidence. And if you're reading this and you're probably saying, like, what? Because here at Habs Digest, myself and Jesse, we've been talking about how supremely confident Juraj Slafkovsky has been so far this season. The man has just been so confident in every interview he's been in, and he has looked confident on the ice. So he says now he needs to gain confidence? Well, yeah, in a recent interview in Slovakian, very kindly translated by a Reddit user by the name of Idea666, I will link this post down below so you guys can go give them the credit they deserve and read the full interview because there's 2 parts of it and it's very, very interesting. But we'll get into the first part of it here. I just have 2 quotes that I pulled from it because I thought they were interesting. The question was, it was your 16th NHL game. How do you feel? Quote, I feel good. It's getting better from game to game, although sometimes there are worse moments, but that's part of hockey. There are always gaps, but the best players have them as well. I don't have the confidence I would like to have yet. I have to build it up, but I think it will get better. I'm trying not to feel the pressure to enjoy just being in the NHL. So there's 2 things I want to take away from this. The first thing is that he's just trying not to cave under the pressure. He's trying to not feel the pressure. And I'm actually going to get into that with the next quote from this interview that sort of piggybacks off of that pressure quote. But the main thing I want to take away from that thing I just showed you there is that he says he needs to gain confidence. And I thought that was really interesting. Slafkovsky really comes across as a very confident guy on and off the ice. In every interview, he says he knows his skill. When he scores in the game, he is celebrating. He's like in their face, right? He's a very confident, not cocky, maybe a bit cocky. He's still 18 years old, but I didn't think the confidence was an issue for him. But now he's here saying that he might need to gain some confidence. Now, I don't know if the context is lost in this interview. Maybe it's lost in translation. Those of you who know Slovakian, if you can find the original interview, maybe through the link below, and can maybe provide some more context, it would be really appreciated. But the fact that he says he needs to gain confidence is very interesting to me, because in a different part of this interview, he also says that, he was asked about maybe being sent down to Laval. What would he think about that? He says he tries not to think about it, and he just wants to play as hard as he can, and he believes that he can stay on Montreal all season. I believe that too. But if Slafkovsky himself is saying that he needs to gain confidence, can't help but wonder, like, would it be better to send him down to Laval soon? I don't know. It's a bit of an interesting question, isn't it? I don't think he wants to be sent down based on his other answer in this interview. So maybe this quote is just taken a bit out of context, but I thought it was interesting to bring it to you guys anyway. Like, do you think that maybe he is losing a bit of confidence? I haven't seen it in his play, and I think he'll be just fine. But do you also think he might be caving under the pressure? Check out this other quote in the interview. In Montreal, hockey's talked about from morning to night. Try to describe what it's normally like. After every practice or game, a lot of cameras and reporters come into the locker room. They pick 3 to 5 players to communicate with. The journalists try to find everything and find out injuries. It's over the line sometimes. Only Montreal is covered on TV. Otherwise, it's all movies and nothing else. And he also goes on to say that he enjoys when he's playing in the United States, in a city where he's really not that famous. He enjoys the anonymity. He likes being able to sit at a restaurant without being bothered. So you gotta wonder, is this NHL media, specifically Montreal media pressure, and even the pressure from the fans of him being the first overall pick, starting to get to him? Again, I haven't seen that affect his game yet. I think he's still looking better pretty much every night. I'd like to see him get even more opportunity, but it's a little concerning to hear these answers from him. Maybe he's starting to crumble a little bit. Maybe he's going to hit a rookie wall and really we'll see some nervousness and start to struggle. And if that happens, maybe we'll have to reconsider the situation. But for now, I don't think there's anything to be worried about. Let me just make that my official opinion. I don't think there's anything to worry about. But I thought these quotes were interesting, and I want to hear what you guys think about these quotes in the comment section below. Please tell me, because maybe I'm missing something with the context, but I want to hear your interpretation of it as well. Final thing for today. Quick little hitter at the end. The Habs have the second strongest schedule ahead of them for the rest of the season. So there's a website, Tankathon. They keep track of a lot of things, especially the struggling teams in the NHL and who has a good chance of getting a high pick. And they have a very nice feature on their website that shows strength of schedule ahead for teams, so you can project who might have a worse record than someone else. And here is the recent top 5 as of today, just before recording this video. And we can see that Montreal is second. Florida's in first with the hardest strength of schedule ahead. But look at Montreal. 3 games against Boston, who is the best team in the NHL this season, 2 games against New Jersey, who is one of the best, maybe second best so far, 3 against Toronto, 1 against Winnipeg, 2 against Seattle, 1 against Vegas, and hardly any games against weak opponents, minus maybe the 4 against Ottawa, but I think Ottawa will bounce back at some point during the season, and they won't be in that weak column anymore. So it's a tough schedule ahead, and what I think this means for Habs fans is that we got to brace for some losses. And no, losses are not a bad thing. As a lot of you are saying in the comments, and I agree with you, losing is not a bad thing. It's only a bad thing if it affects the player's confidence and if it affects the player's development. And I don't think that's going to happen this season. Our players are still getting their points. We're playing really well, and I think that'll continue. We'll still see some points from our guys. They're still going to develop. But these losses are not necessarily a bad thing. I think that if Montreal can get a solid lottery pick to add on to this amazing core and prospect pool we already have, it's just going to be a great thing for the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years to come in the future. So brace for it, Habs fans. We have a really hard schedule ahead of us. There are going to be losing streaks. No two ways about it. We have a tough schedule. A lot of games left within the very, very difficult Atlantic Division. And we got to brace for it. We're not one of the best teams in the league. We've been performing great, but our roster's still not great on paper. We have a lot to figure out, so be ready. Be ready for some losing streaks, but remember, it's not all bad because we'll probably end up with a solid pick in the draft. But that'll do it for this news edition of Habs Digest. If you liked the video, leave it a like. Subscribe to the channel. We're going for 5,000 subs. That goal's not that far away. We're halfway there. We're over 2,500 subs now. But if you guys are enjoying, leave it a like. Share it with anyone you think might enjoy. We really appreciate it. I've been your host, Josh Gosse. We'll catch you in the next video.